There's a version of you that exists in your head, the motivated version, the one who wakes up early, starts on time, doesn't procrastinate, doesn't overthink, just does the work. We all know that version. We trust that version. We keep waiting for that version to show up. And that's where things quietly fall apart. Because most of the time, motivation doesn't come first, it comes after. But we've been taught the opposite. We think we need to feel ready before we begin. So we wait. We wait for the right mood, the right energy, the right moment where things feel easier. And sometimes that moment comes. But most days, it doesn't. So the work stays untouched. Not because you're incapable, not because you're lazy, but because you've built a system that depends on something unpredictable. Motivation is unreliable, it's emotional, it fluctuates, it disappears without warning, and yet we treat it like a requirement. Think about it. How many times have you said, I'll start when I feel like it? Or I'm just not in the mood today? It sounds harmless, but over time, it creates a pattern where your actions are controlled by your feelings, and feelings change constantly. So, what's the alternative? Systems. Not rigid routines that control your life, but small agreements you make with yourself. Simple, almost unambitious rules that don't depend on how you feel. For example, instead of saying, I'll write when I feel motivated, you say, I will write 100 words. That's it. Not perfect words, not meaningful words, just 100 words. Because starting is the hardest part. And systems are designed to make starting easier. Here's something interesting. Once you begin, even with low energy, even without motivation, something shifts. Your mind slowly catches up with your action. Focus builds, resistance softens, and sometimes what started as just 100 words turns into something more. That's how motivation actually works, not as a trigger, but as a side effect. You act first, then motivation follows, not always, but often enough. This is why small systems work better than big intentions, because they remove the emotional barrier. They don't ask, do you feel ready? They ask, can you do this tiny thing? And most of the time, the answer is yes. So here's something you can try: create a minimum action rule. One small action connected to something that matters to you, so small that it feels almost too easy. 10 minutes of work, one paragraph, one page, one step, and make one agreement. You show up for that no matter how you feel. Some days you'll stop there, and that's fine. Other days you'll go further without even realizing it. And that's the point. Because consistency isn't built on motivation, it's built on reducing resistance, on making the start so small that you can't really avoid it. And once you stop waiting to feel ready, you realize something quietly powerful. You were never lacking motivation. You were just depending on it too much. And maybe the moment you let go of that dependency is the moment things finally start moving.